for the Garry Richmeier. I'm been a counselor, marriage family therapist for 20 some years, and wanted to kind of speak a little bit with you about suicide. Nobody really wants to talk about suicide. I think it's a scary subject. People don't understand it, and so it's kind of a taboo subject in our culture, and so people tend to kind of ignore it or not talk about it. But you can't solve a problem without talking about it. If it's your problem, you can't find help if you don't talk about it. So that's very important. I think it's a good thing to kind of be informed about and to be able to talk with each other about it so that we can help each other as a community. Just a couple things. The first thing I want to say about suicide is what will help, and it'll help a lot of the ills in our society, is to stay connected with each other, to be community, to be a supportive support, a compassionate support to each other. That, among all the other things that we can do, that is very important, especially regarding suicide, because that is what will help people avoid it if possible. If we can, as a community, be together in this, and be able to talk about it, and to help each other out. So if there's one thing I wanted to say about it, that would be it. A couple of statistics. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in our society. In 2018, there were 48,000 suicides. That's two and a half times the number of homicides. That's probably a low number because many causes of death are labeled accidental, and which are actually suicide. So that number is probably low. Males commit suicide 4 times higher than females. And the group that's most at risk is middle-aged to elderly men. Experts say that they are at risk because much of their identity is tied up in work and producing, and when they retire, there's nothing. And that is very depressing, and suicide is often the result. Rural areas are higher in suicides. Guns, firearms are the number one way people commit suicide, followed by suffocation and poison. The age group that thinks about suicide the most is 18 to 25-year-olds. And that's very dangerous because people that age tend to be more impulsive, and if they're thinking about it more, they may actually do it. So, who's at risk? If you're wondering if someone may be thinking about suicide, the first thing to do is ask about it, to talk about it. Ask them and say, how are you feeling? You seem down. And if they are talking about being depressed, being sad, ask them if they are thinking of suicide. People don't want to ask that question because they think, well, that will put the idea in their head. That statistics show, experts say that's not the case. It's not talking about it that can make it worse. So asking someone if they're thinking about suicide is okay, and then that will allow them to get out whatever they need to get out, and they will know that you're there to help them. So, what are some signs and symptoms? Or if someone's talking about wanting to die, or if they're hopeless, no reason to live, talking about a lot of guilt and shame, that's an indication. Feeling trapped, that there's no solutions to their problems. Unbearable pain, that they're a burden to others. They start using alcohol or drugs more often. Anxious, agitated, or withdrawing from family and friends. If they start giving away important possessions, that can be an indication. Saying goodbye to family and friends in maybe veiled forms. Putting their affairs in order, making a will. Those are things that people need to be aware of. If you know someone that is kind of doing some of those things and you're wondering, then by all means, talk to them about it, ask them. And, are you thinking about it? Another thing you can do is keep them safe. Reduce their access to lethal means, like take guns out of the house if possible. If they have pills, monitor those. That is, addressing those things is important. To be there for them, listen to them. Find out what they're thinking, feeling. That's part of that compassionate support, to be there and talk about those thoughts that might be there. To ask them when you're talking to them, ask, well, if you just think, is it just thinking about suicide or is it specific? Ask them if they have a plan, if they have made a plan of how to do it, when, where, how. If the more detailed a plan is, probably the closer they are to committing suicide. So asking those questions, if they say, well, I just thought about it, it's kind of vague, okay, well that's less serious. It's still serious, but it's less serious than having a plan. If you know that someone has a plan, they got a date, they're saying, yeah, I'm going to do it, then call 911. Their protection is the main thing. So, and stay connected with them, even after, the crisis is over. Stay connected, ask them. Those are all important things. Again, it's that connection with each other that is important. Be there, give them information of how to help, how they can find help other than you. On your screen is some hotline numbers, some text, ways to text, information, website. So you can give them those resources. There's lots more out there on the web to look at. So do that. I think we need to get away. It used to be that suicide was looked at like homicide. That was a crime, that was a sin. We have to get away from that. Homicide is built on hate. You hate someone, so that's why people kill each other. Suicide is not main reason is not to kill yourself. I know that sounds strange, but it's usually is to get away from the pain, to end the pain, whatever the pain is. There's physical pain. If someone's in physical pain for a long time, it takes a toll, and they just want to end it sometimes. Maybe it's emotional pain, maybe a loss or a divorce or whatever it is. Emotional pain can be as painful as physical pain. And people will commit suicide to get away from emotional pain. Sometimes it's a combination of revenge and ending the pain, like murder-suicides. Person murders their spouse for divorcing them, then they kill themselves. It's still ending their pain, but it's also tied up in revenge. So those are some of the things for what people can do to help others. And if you are yourself, thinking of suicide, reach out. Reach out to those people that love you, that care for you. As hard as that is. People turn to suicide because they see no other option. And so if we can present someone another option for ending the pain, as in our relationship with them or our support or resources out there, counseling, then there's another option and they don't have to choose suicide. So that is important to do, to present other options. Some risk factors: if someone has has a substance abuse disorder, suicide is more common. Chronic pain. If someone's had a prior suicide attempt, that is a risk factor. If family history of mental disorder, that is also family history of suicide. Statistics show there's more suicide in a family like that. Family violence, including physical or sexual abuse. Having guns and firearms in the home. Or if someone's been recently released from prison or jail. Or someone's been exposed to other suicidal behavior. So those are some risk factors to be aware of in suicide. Again, there's lots of information out there on the web about suicide and what it is, what people who attempted suicide are thinking about it, why they attempted. That's good information to have. But again, the main thing, as I began with, is to be with each other, to connect, to support, to be compassionate, to be in a faith body of Christ, basically. That is kind of the basic thing of everything. That's the most powerful force in the universe. And it can go a long ways to reducing suicide as well as many of the other ills in our society. So I hope this has been helpful. And I hope that if you are depressed, if you have thought about suicide, please reach out. Give me a call, give someone a call, and to those people that love you. So thank you, and God bless.